One thing I can promise you this, I will always tell you the truth.
Donald Trump lies like breathing. He doesn't know what the truth is.
Why did you lie to the American people, and why should we trust what you have to say now?
Such a terrible question.
People believing the big lie are lucky to find even cobwebs lurking inside that empty cavity they can only loosely refer to as their mind. And it's the job of right-wing media to weave a twisted web indeed inside those feeble brains. We've seen them pull some doozies on their captive audiences over the years. Why working people should vote for the party of trickle-down economics, why a billionaire elite is the only person who can save them from billionaire elites, are conundrums their voters suck down faster than Jim Jones' Kool-Aid. But it takes some real mental gymnastics to try and turn the bigliest loser's epic 2020 loss into a sacred landslide victory that only Wino Rudy and the MyPillow guy can give us the real details on. So I think it's high time we analyze the 5 biggest lies within the big lie. Number 5, Italian satellites intercepted thousands of urban absentee ballots late on election night, switching Trump votes to Biden, just in the nick of time before counting. It's hard to say why right-wingers have conspiracy theory fetishes, especially ones that constantly involve some outer space element.
So the final email here included a completely baseless conspiracy theory that an Italian defense contractor uploaded software to a satellite that switched votes from Trump to Biden. The Select Committee investigation found that this wild, baseless conspiracy theory made it from the recesses of the internet to the highest echelons of our government.
Little green men are somehow all to blame for their miserable poverty, of course. It could never be the oppressive Republican regimes that they vote for. I don't know what's dumber about this little fantasy, the ridiculous Gotham City-style fairy tale, or the idea that there were urban absentee ballots cast for Donald Trump. At number 4, we have the crackpot lawyer Sidney Powell's ludicrous claim that German servers somehow conducted our entire election for us. Every single aspect of this moron story is 100% false. But of course that matters not when you're talking to right-wing nutcases. It's all about how colorful of a yarn you can spin, and this yarn is brighter than tie-dye on an acid trip.
Cohen-Watnick received another call from Sidney Powell, Flynn's former lawyer who is now advising President Trump and, like Flynn, promoting some of the craziest theories about the election. Sidney Powell called Ezra Cohen-Watnick with a bizarre request. Her request was specific, urgent, and highly sensitive. It was also completely insane. Sidney Powell went on to explain to him that CIA Director Gina Haspel had been hurt while on a secret CIA operation to seize a computer server from a company named Seidel. The server, Powell claimed, contained evidence that hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of votes had been switched using rigged voting machines.
Even Louis the Scumbucket got his 0.02% of lies in with the claim that the army seized a German computer and all the facts were soon going to be revealed. Of course, all these right-wing plots have to kick the can down the road. Powell chimed in with an epic line, "I do not know whether good guys got it or bad guys got it." How quaint and simplistic. Obviously, she's in touch with her audience. At number 3, it's the woefully contrived theory that the ghost of Hugo Chavez is secretly the architect of American democracy. When Pinocchio lies, his nose grows, and for Rudy, well, his face melts. This jackaloon could barely stumble through these ridiculous words as he tried to remember his own lies. This is one of those lies that's so flimsy it must change with every telling. Evidently, Chavez, who died in 2013, wrote voting machine software to steal elections. How that supposedly got integrated into the United States and yet sat on the shelf for a decade, only to be rolled out for Trump's re-election and only affected his name on the ballot amongst all other Republicans, is murkier than that crap rolling off Giuliani's face. Number 2 is the grand right-wing fable of zombie apocalypse voters, which is odd because they themselves fit the description perfectly. They're certainly dead from the shoulders up. It's handy to fall back on a theory with no corroborating evidence whatsoever, but just the imagery of dead people voting from addresses listed as vacant lots lights up their pre-K imaginations. But wait a minute, wouldn't brain-dead zombies be voting for Donald Trump? In the limited cases they did find objective voter fraud, it was MAGA morons casting votes for their unholy savior in the name of their dead mother, and no doubt out of the residency of her basement.
It made no sense to me.
Kirk Hartle said he was surprised when he found out his wife, who died in 2017, had sent in a mail-in ballot.
I was surprised because she passed away 3 years ago. I was surprised to even get that.
Rosemary Hartle died at 52 from breast cancer. Her name is still on Clark County's voter rolls, and since everyone in those rolls got a ballot, one was sent to Rosemary. But Kirk says a ballot never got to his house.
That is pretty sickening to me, to be honest with you.
Sickening indeed. Now that sounds like an awful story, a grieving widower attempting to deal with this attempted fraud. And it soon became part of the Trump team's talking points as they worked to undermine the election results.
Dead people voted in Clark County.
Yes, it is fraud, and we should know who did this, and now we do. It was Kirk Hartle himself, Rosemary's husband. This week, he appeared in court where he pleaded guilty to the charge of voting more than once in the same election.
And finally, the biggest lie within the big lie has to be something just doesn't seem right. Wow, how astute and analytical. Ask a million MAGA morons and you'll basically get a conglomerate of all the far-fetched fairy tales that we've presented so far. They can't really point to anything specifically, and so ultimately they believe the big lie for no reason at all. And that's the fact of the matter, because there simply are no reasons behind it.
Trump is still your president!
It's legal for them to count votes in Pennsylvania 2 days after the election on November 3rd?
Yes.
You're wrong. Go. I don't even want to talk to you.
I believe that Donald Trump won the election. I believe that they tried to steal the election.
It's like the Tooth Fairy. Tuck a copy of The Art of the Deal under your MyPillow and voila, next morning you're an indoctrinated cultist. That's because these savages are captives of their own hostile, petty emotions. They ransack the Capitol because of an absence of mind and an abundance of hate. Donald Trump owns these people's very souls because they're too stupid to overcome their animal hatred. And hatred is a senseless thing. Case in point, Donald Trump is the very person exacerbating every issue these morons claim to care about. In reality like that, why tell the truth when a lie can advance the cause so much further?